Welcome. You are in the right place. This is your Revolutionize Your Marketing show. The show sponsor and the company that makes it all possible is this wonderful firm called Mill City Marketing MA. And we've just got the top dog here, the creator, founder of this show, Mill City Marketing MA operator, John Petros Sr. He's the one that I threw him into this thing, in the past year, and he kept it going. So we're here every Friday now, live at 5 Eastern. And so please stay tuned with us every week. And this is a marketing show. So we've got our guest here today that she's got her own experience in marketing and her own experience, what she does for business and her own role. But we're going to make sure to come back to what does this all do in the scope of revolutionizing your marketing. It's going to be very worthwhile. So here you go, John. Come on in here. Let's get this marketing magic going. Take it away, John.
Good evening, folks, and thank you, Kurt. Never know how you're going to open this. But yeah, like he said, folks, he threw me into this. But I'm a people person. I love doing it. My guests love coming on, and I have a very special guest today. He's actually coming to us today from a coffee shop. I hope the coffee is good. Um, let's bring Katherine in. And there she is. How you doing, Katherine?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, John, for having me on. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the marketing. Haven't spoken with you a few weeks ago. I learned you're really doing this. Good job.
I keep expanding. What can I tell you? I now do
That's good.
video ads, and I can now do radio ads. I'm doing it all. There's no holding me back.
Well,
All right.
there you
So
go.
let's tell our audience who you are, where you're from, and how you get to do what you're doing.
So we'll do the abridged version to respect time, and they can go to the website and find out the full story. But hi everyone, my name is Katherine De'Na Parker. I am a public relations practitioner and a certified peer support specialist through the Mississippi Department of Mental Health. I own KD Public Relations. It is a PR focused a mental health focused PR agency. We also do marketing. We have a different way of doing the things that we do. So this literally was something that I don't know about everyone else's faith, but mine is God breathed. My faith is very strong in the Lord. I don't know how I would have made it without it. I have full respect for everyone who has different beliefs. It's okay. We don't have to agree to get along. And so, for me, my faith is very, very important. I was going to school for music education. Um, I went for 3.5 semesters. My biological father got super sick with cancer. It came back. And at that same time, my married world was going the other direction. And it was a really, really tough time in my life. And so I'd been in school at that time, and I had to pull out of school. And when I went back, my grades were not that good in music education. So I started praying, and the Lord spoke to my heart and said PR. And I heard it 3 times. When I heard PR twice, and I literally asked God, what the crap is PR? And then I heard public relations, and I went, what is that? And so I looked it up, and I went, that is me. That is so me. And so the next thing I know, I was going to school, talking to my advisors, telling them, because I'd went back and telling them that I wanted to look into this. And they started connecting me to different individuals and started writing for the paper. And then, I mean, just a lot of stuff, really, really cool stuff happened in that time period. So 2015, I graduated from USM with my bachelor's degree, my associate's and bachelor's degree in public relations and mass communication studies, and still felt lost, but was excited. couldn't find a job in my field. And so again, I went to praying. So 2016 opened the doors for me to launch KD Public Relations. We landed a lot of really cool jobs at that time, but I was seeking direction. And so the Lord, by 2017, opened a door for me to enter into the world of mental health. I worked in mental health for about 8 years directly, did client care as a peer support specialist, and learned a lot, met a lot of our legislators and our state representatives. And, it's just been a wild journey. And as of a year and a half ago, the Lord asked me, because I was like, at this point, I didn't want to run my own business. Why would I do that? That's crazy. It's crazy. And and the Lord spoke to my heart, asking me, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "I guess." I guess. I mean, what choice do I have? Life has been rough, Lord. I'm Jonah over here. This is exhausting. I'm tired. This is harder than running the business. Let me do this.
Well,
Um, so a year and a half ago, I launched the business. It's been touch and go, but as of about 2.5 months ago, we became approved through SAM.gov and through Mississippi's Magic System to start accepting and working with federal and state contracts, procurements, grants, etc. So I have the only public relations agency that is mental health focused and approved through state and federal contracts in the entire U.S. world. So here I am.
wow, that is a heck of a journey.
Yeah, very
It
much.
is.
Very much.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to start a business. Um, I started a travel business at the wrong time. I started a travel business just before COVID. And of course, we all know what happened to the travel industry during COVID.
Nobody was going anywhere.
Yeah.
Stuck in our houses.
And then I bumped into a guy online who was doing marketing. He said, "Hey, if I'm going to be doing marketing for myself, I might as well learn how to do it." Now he's got 300,000 students in 75 countries.
Um,
So I learned from one of the best. But yeah, so what you do is basically part of marketing. Uh, how do you like what you're doing?
Love what I'm doing. I explain the differences in public relations, mass communications. I explain all the differences and the nuances and how important they are to work together. PR is your relationship. Without the relationship, we have a Coke glass. I'll show you. We have a Coke glass. Well, Coke started branding. How did they start branding? You start forming relationships. Your relationships are your core, your key. We use smart marketing. So we use smart goals. When we do marketing, we use smart goals. Because if you're looking at purchasing a billboard or a commercial or something of that nature, it's not specific, it's not measurable, it's not achievable, it's not relevant, it's not time bound. You could end up losing money. So marketing is extremely important. It's vital. Whenever I create business cards and we send them to the printer and we're starting to give those out, that's a form of marketing. It's hard to track those business cards, yet they're important. They're important. So you find the vendor that's going to work with you, that's going to give you the right paper, the right mill of your paper, and the right product, and make you look even better on that paper when you hand it out. And it's advisable to get contact information from them. When you hand a business card out, if you can get them to text you or scan your QR code that's on your business card, you have a way to track that. So if marketing is very important. And so marketing, for us in the world of public relations, we feel like marketing is like PR is here, and we feel like marketing is in there. And from the reverse side of things, it's a little different. because marketing feels like PR is part of things, you know. Either way, we do things differently, but that doesn't mean that either one's right or wrong. I just encourage people to make sure that they're using smart goals. If you're going to do marketing, do smart marketing. Make sure that you're not just putting money into a billboard where you don't have a lot of traffic, you know. And if you do
Yeah.
have a lot of traffic there, how flexible can that advertiser be with you when you're purchasing that billboard? Who's the one that's going to do the graphic design? They may charge you to do the graphic design. If you have a design that you can do yourself, you may save yourself some money. It just depends on what you're wanting to do. So yes, it is. They're very close.
Yeah. That's like the type of marketing that I do. Um, I use a lot with, I do a lot with AI now. Um, that's the new way of the future. But
Yeah.
I still do some of it myself too. But the interesting part is a lot of people going with social media.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on social media, but there's a lot more people on live streaming TV. That's why I got into live streaming TV. I've got access to Disney Plus, Hulu, and all of Paramount's. And I'll tell you, I didn't know Paramount had so many different channels on the live stream. But
And
yeah, and I didn't believe what Disney said in the beginning, so I checked it out. To put an ad on Facebook now is getting close to $2 per click. Well, I put in the lowest budget that Disney has, which is 500 for the month,
mhm.
and it came back and it told me I would get over 12,000 views.
And
When
that's
I figured
vital.
when I figured that out, that came out to close to 25 cents per view.
Wow.
It's a lot
Wow.
better than 175.
Right. Right. And that's what I mean by the smart marketing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
when you're looking at moving into marketing and advertising, I've been building my brand. It's important for me to build the brand, and I do very low cost when I'm doing
yeah,
marketing. I don't do a lot of it because of my background, right? But I also understand that it's that time. Like there comes a time I want people to build a foundation, and then they've got that foundation built, and that foundation being built, their relationships with the different people that are involved in their targeted audiences, and
yeah,
from there they grow that and they reach out to people like yourself who can help push that brand further. It's very important. There, you know, there's only so many press releases that can be written by a news station or by a person like myself before that news station is going to want somebody to purchase some advertising, you know.
yeah,
I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. So when you're looking at it and you're going, okay, can I get more reach on Hulu than I can on Facebook? And what kind of reach am I going to get? Those are vital. And if people aren't asking those questions, it's important to reach out to individuals like yourself, like me, and other individuals that are in this industry so we can help them to better understand where their money is going, what their return on their investment is going to be. You don't want to
yeah,
end up with an upside down ROI, especially in our economy. So
yeah.
this is my soapbox.
That's right. The type of businesses I like working with is these smaller businesses
Mhm.
because they're the ones that need the help the most, and a lot of them can't afford what regular marketers charge. So me, that's one of the advantages I have. I'm willing to work with whatever they have available for a budget. Of course, the smaller the budget,
Unless you
the
get
the less I can do for them. But I'll go through their business and see where they need the help the most, and that's where I start. Getting past that point, and they start getting more revenue in, and they can start putting more into the marketing and build it up that way. That's one of the reasons why I just about 2 weeks ago got into radio commercials. I can do radio commercials across the country now. I don't play small. I went with the big boys. Radio.
You did get through to iHeart. Good job. Good job. Because you were talking
I
with me
did.
about that. Good.
Yeah, I did. I'm just waiting to get the pricing to see what they charge. Um, yeah, I got to get back to them actually the beginning of the week. I was already supposed to be getting it in an email, but I can't find it, so
Oh boy.
I got to call
Well,
them back.
right.
But
Right.
so between social media, live stream TV, radio, and actually my podcast, it says marketing for you.
Right. Well, thank you. It's actually kind of PR because it's,
Yeah.
it's more of marketing is about a product and PR is about the relationship. It's about the person. And so
Yeah.
people ask me a lot of times what the differences are. And as someone who, has studied this for almost 20 years, it's been a long journey and there's so much overreach, it's confusing the straw with the glass, the ink with the pen. You need both. You need both. But
Yeah.
you can pull
You
this
do.
outside of this pen holder and use it elsewhere. You know, and so if your relationship is missing, look at there's a brand out here who hit a media firestorm. It's a southern restaurant, and I'm gonna just try to be vague. Um, It's a southern restaurant. The CEO was not familiar with the brand and made a lot of changes, purchased billboards, and did a whole lot of stuff. And then found out how angry the audiences were. And had they
Yeah.
looked at things and done, put together some focus groups. And I've researched it, so I can say that this was not really done the way it should have been done. Okay. Um, had the focus groups been put together and they did some real good targeted questioning and went through the research part, their marketing money would not have been wasted. So that's where I
Yeah.
talk about smart marketing, So in public relations, we use RPI, research, planning, implementation, evaluation. So this brand has made it for a long time. They have a good relationship with the public. The public loves the brand, loves the biscuits, loves the tea, loves their food. And I had just gone with my significant other not long before this, so I was really shocked.
Hmm.
If you don't work with someone like John or myself, or others in this industry who are really, really skilled at this, and you're going at this blind, I encourage you to be careful because I see so much waste when it comes to money when people are growing their brands. And they'll jump into the marketing first and they really haven't done the research the way that they should have to see if this is going to work. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sometimes you do have to do that, but you can use social media to do a lot of the quote unquote free stuff. You work in tandem with an individual like John, like myself, where we help guide you to where you're not losing money on the back end, because a rebrand is extremely expensive. Ask me how I know.
Yeah. That's one reason why I just partnered up with somebody the other day. I can have a company come in, have me do the marketing, and my partner I just teamed up with will help them get the money that they don't know that they have. Therefore, like he gave me an example, prime example, from what I would charge and what he can find back for that business. By the end of the At the end of the year, they get a year's worth of marketing and it doesn't cost them anything. And they get more money back at the end of the year.
If they're smart about it, it can be done. You
So,
can end up, they call it girl math.
and I have another partner I just partnered up with 2 days ago that does the same thing, only in a different angle. So now I can help businesses get money in from two different directions
Right.
to pay for their marketing.
And that's important. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. If we gridlock ourselves into one direction, we go one route on a map. We never learn the other directions that there are, the other routes there are to go to those locations. Just got to be smart about
Yeah.
it. You just got to be smart. If you're not, you could lose a lot of money. I see a lot of people, they'll do grand openings. They've just gotten their business, like I've got a building picked out, for example. And the thing I'm not doing when I first open the doors is do a grand opening. I want everybody to get used to it. I'm building a team. I have an intern right now. We're growing. I've got another gentleman that's going to work and do our social media. And I've got another young lady, about 40 minutes away, who has a background in public relations. I have a friend of mine who has a strong background in journalism, who just retired. And, so I'm building a team. And in building that team, I want to make sure that we're all situated. Everybody has their lane. They know their lane. They're comfortable with it, because if you do a big grand opening, you like boil water and it like gets real hot, and then it boils for a little while, but then
Yeah.
it just kind of dies out. If people aren't smart with their marketing, that's what happens. That right
Yeah.
there.
It's
Right.
like right now I'm working with possibly, it's not guaranteed yet, a new client, got a very large international coffee business. And one of the advantages that I have, one of my new partners has had a coffee business for 11 years that he sold. Started from scratch, built it up, and sold it. So he has the background of coffee. So he can help this guy save the money to pay for the marketing.
So it takes someone who knows the industry, or you learn the industry yourself.
Yeah.
I sold cars for a little while. And so, I can do sales and I can do advertising, I can do marketing and all that stuff. I can. I just always encourage people to be smart about it. Marketing is vital. How do people know who you are if you aren't putting it out there? If you're a person who is watching this and you're afraid, how do people know who you are if you put it out there? It took Elvis how long before he hit it big? It took, Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was in his 60s.
Yeah.
It takes a while. And I will tell people that from the beginning, from my early beginnings, I had a lot of rejection sensitivity. I still fight it. And what I've had to learn is to overcome that rejection. If it doesn't work the first time, you may have to keep hammering at the nail. And maybe you don't hammer at the nail quite as hard. Maybe you use a different hammer, you know. But you find ways to make it work. It will work if you work it, you know.
Yeah.
But you don't, it's not one of these you plant a seed and it just grows organically. You got to put some work into it. I think that's going to be the biggest trade-off when it comes to PR and marketing. PR is a long game. PR is a very long game. Very.
And again,
Exhausting.
working in marketing, it's the same thing as trying to build a retail business. You're
Mhm.
gonna make mistakes. There's gonna be screw ups, but it's also like I just got a saying that I just found online from a celebrity. You go with the flow and you roll with the punches. And when you say, well, next time I'll know better, so don't mind making mistakes as long as you
Mm,
don't lose the lesson.
mm, learn from it. Learn from
Every
it. That's right.
every mistake, every loss is a lesson.
Every one of them. That is exactly right. And again, if you're
Yeah.
watching this, and I'm the teacher. If I'm anything, John, I am a teacher. I'm gonna full of advice and of what not to do. I keep telling my children I'm going to write the book of what not to do. I just wrote a book, Business Against the Odds. It's out on Amazon. The price is $9.99. It's an ebook. You can download it that way, and it talks about the experience um, uh, of being an entrepreneur. You know, it talks about the hard times. It talks about that very thing of learning from those things. My first go round, I'd gone to school, graduated, had the degree, worked for the mayor, created the coin for the city of Hattiesburg, but still had so much to learn. And I feel like God allowed me to go through that time period in mental health to see things from a different worldview, from a different perspective, so that I could understand the other side. So I wasn't just looking at it from my side of the table, if you will. And what I've learned is, I jumped too hard, too fast, too quick. I jumped too hard,
Yeah.
too fast, too quick. And a lot of business owners do that. So, I think some of this is projection on my end. So I admit that. I claim it. I tell people on the front end. I just don't want to see people hurting financially from their mistakes. Will they? They'll come along. Nothing is perfect. Life is liquid. That life is liquid came from a former employer. That is not my term. Please don't use it. Promise. Okay. Um, you know, just as a wrap up on my end, I just want people to know that it's okay to make mistakes. You learn from them. Let anxiety, it's going to tell you that you're a failure. It's going to tell you that you're lying. It's going to tell you that you're not worth it. It's going to tell you all the wrong things. And you just have to look at anxiety and say, bye. I got other stuff to do. I'll take my coat.
Yeah. Let's bring Kurt in. I know Kurt's got some questions.
Okay.
Come on in, Kurt. This is why I call him my co-host. What you
Uh,
got, Kurt?
all right, so Catherine, I really love the work you do. I'm a big enthusiast about public relations. I like to tell people that I love marketing. I tell people I love marketing through technology and events, and
Mhm.
people are trying to learn about me and figure out what role I like to play. I do steer them in the realm of public relations. I don't claim to work it the way you do, but as a practitioner of marketing, that is something I profess as my favorite. So I mentioned like events. You mentioned like some of the talking you guys are doing about events, or press release you had said, and stuff like that. you know, I point out with this show that marketing, like a marketing plan, has a lot of pieces to it. It has advertising, publicity, promotions, public relations, customer service, personal
Yes.
selling. So when you look at that there's a distinction to public relations that really draws in the marketing function that public relations has. How do you more define public relations so that people can walk away being able to talk to somebody else and they know what public relations is? How do you describe that?
So I can give you the technical definition, but I'll save the time. Go to prsa.org and look it up from there. Public Relations Society of America. So the easiest way to say it, I'm the middle person. Okay, I connect clients to the message, and I connect those clients and their message to the public. So I am relating to the public that client's message. There's times where clients won't know what to say. They won't know how to deliver a message. Look at politics. look at finance, you look at all the different industries, you look at cars, you look at how people sell a message, and a lot of times it feels all icky, right? So in the world of PR, we break it down, we humanize it, we put the humanity in the heart of that message in it. Some people call it puffery. I could see where they're coming from. But if it's not genuine, I would question it, because integrity in the world of public relations is extremely important. So it's a different angle, and we're speaking to a person's heart. We're literally speaking to their ego, and we're explaining to them that there's certain things that are important in life, and this may be one of the things that they could look at and see. But that's the breakdown. Basically, I'm your middle person. I'm your spokesperson.
Okay, so we're looking at press releases. So when you do a press release, you're hoping to get written up in the newspaper or on television, such like that. So with what you do with public relations, do you just coordinate them to consider what they might do, like appearing on a morning talk show, or what? Because you would call that public relations, right? If somebody from the
Mhm.
company is on, their television set, that's public relations, right?
Good Morning America, whatever the case may be. It depends on the client. You can purchase advertising and marketing. You can guarantee a spot. You can write a press release, and you can say, because you built a relationship with these individual journalists. I have friends at CNN. I have a connection at Wall Street Journal. That have a few connections out there that I'm trying to grow, on a wider scale of things. But locally within Mississippi, I've built a wide array of journalism colleagues and friends. We've built a pretty big hub, and it's because I believe partially, the fact that I love people, and my background, and the fact that I'm a journalist myself. So when you go to school for public relations, oftentimes you have a root of journalism, not a root of sales. And so in marketing, you have a root of sales. And in PR, you have a root of journalism. So we're storytellers. We tell other people's stories. I tell people I gossip positively about people. So yes, that's how that works. Is like I would send out a press release on behalf of that other client, because that client may not know the journalist that I know. And I can't 100% say that we can get the story, but I can say these are the stories that I have gotten coverage for. And we don't just send out a press release if it's not newsworthy. So I know that much too, that if I'm going to send a press release out, it's got to be newsworthy. And so that we can pretty much guarantee, I'm going to use that term, guarantee that we're going to get coverage for that client. If it doesn't happen, we're not going to put a stamp of approval and say, well, we promised you this. We literally tell them, because of the relationships that we have formed with our media colleagues, this is the metrics. These are our metrics of success for this. And we believe that we can get you in the news. I had a lady last year that I sent out a press release for. We were going to set up a whole interview in my house. We were going to do it remote from my office. And it turned out that she had a situation in her family that she wasn't able to do the interview, so we had to cancel it. But getting news coverage for individuals it's important. If you have a new invention that's going to change the world, there's a good reason to send that out. Will it change the world? What are the metrics? We're going to ask all kinds of questions before I send that press release out. We don't just write a press release and send it. We're going to do a lot of conversation before that, because the time is important. The relationships that I have forged have been hard but wonderful. And so it's something that I don't take for granted. And so, yeah, it's important.
Yeah, that is great. So basically, in the work that I've done, when I consult people, I say, marketing is something that I want to help you grow into, because when you get started out, a lot of times you're doing guerrilla marketing, you're doing do it yourself. You love the social media marketing because you can do it yourself, and you don't have expenses that you're worried about how you're going to get the return on investment. But then as you go, you start to realize that, like you said, the direction of sales and marketing, as you start to make sales, a successful company will start to see that place in budgeting on a percentage of sales. And so that becomes the adventure of a startup business, is to either through an investor, boom, having, a big budget for marketing, which can be applied
Right.
to public relations,
Very
or,
expensive.
or you grow it, whatever percentage you're at. And the idea that I tell people is that with marketing, which includes customer service, see, that's the thing I try to do to take people away from the shock value of what I'm saying, because customer service is in there. But when you look at all of your marketing expenses, a mature, successful company, to me, if they're also successful in marketing, will see they're building their success, quite probably having 20% of sales going to marketing. So to boost their customer service, to, pay those commissions to the sales team, to buy the advertising, to, be able to hire somebody for public relations, all this stuff. So the idea is that I wanted to really get the channel of public relations. So I Googled, I didn't find it fast enough at PRSA what it is. So I just Googled what is public relations. So Google is telling me, from the Oxford Languages, the professional maintenance of a favorable public image by a company or other organization or a famous person, the state of relationship between public and company and other organization. I just clicked it, just need to refresh here. Companies this is like an example quote by Google here, apparently from Oxford Languages. Companies justify the cost in terms of improved public relations. Or with the first part, they would say public relations is often looked down on by the media. Now, why would they say that? Why would that be coming up on Google, that they find a statement like that? Why would media not like public relations?
That goes into what I said about press releases, because you'll have some young PR people and some people in PR who just think they're entitled to media. They just feel like they're walking around like they're the bomb.com, and the media is like, don't you understand that I have other stuff to do besides this? It's not like we don't love you or care about you, but in the same sense, you have a sense of entitlement and we're not cool. That relationship that is built between the media and that PR representative is extremely vital to that PR's success. Without it, the PR slips into marketing. Because then you're not looking at earned media, you're looking at paid media. And paid media is marketing. Earned media is PR. So the relationship is an earned relationship. That PR has spent years cultivating the relationships with the media and the colleagues, and they've done lunch together. I have a friend of mine who's a journalist who comes over every year and spends the weekend when we do Balloon Festival. These are people that I don't just look at as professionals on one end of the spectrum. I also see them as my friends and colleagues, and they'll advise me, hey, Katherine, that might not have been the greatest way of doing that. So when you have a journalist who doesn't like a PR, something has happened. Not saying that everything's on the PR's fault, okay? But PRs, we struggle in the world of entitlement. And so it can be a bit of a tender relationship, and it has to be molded and it has to be respected. Your journalists have a lot going on, and they literally gave airtime to your client without paying for it. And the respect that is to be placed there is vital. And a lot of times journalists don't feel respected anyway. So the last thing they need is a PR coming along and not respecting them as well.
All right. So thanks, Katherine. Yeah, we're in our
Pretty
wrap.
powerful, sorry. I'm sorry. I know it's kind of hard, but it's the truth.
Right. So we're in our wrap up portion of the show, wrap up segment here. Katherine, what I want to do is I want to read you 4 bullet points again that I derived from Google. So if people just Google what is public relations, you can pull up exactly what I'm reading, but I'm going to go ahead and verbalize it. And then, Katherine, I just want you to either respond to the bullet points or maybe it'll get you going on one final point that you'd like to make today. So the first bullet point is on a goal. So the main goal is to manage public perception by shaping how an organization is seen. This can be achieved by the highlighting positive actions, managing crises, and ensuring the public has a positive disposition towards the brand. Key activities. PR professionals engage in a wide range of activities such as media relations, working with journalists and media outlets, crisis communications, handling negative events, creating content, managing social media, and organizing events. Distinction from advertising. Unlike advertising, which is a paid for, PR is often relying on earning publicity through stories in the media, press releases, and other unpaid means. Strategic importance. PR is a strategic function that advises management on policies, helps anticipate public opinion, and aims to build trust and credibility over the long term. So with what I just put out there in red to kind of get a little summary going on what we all dove into here, what would be a final point you'd want to make today, Katherine?
It's spot on. It's spot on. If I bake a cake for you, and I'm a cake baker, and I mess up the cake, I don't do well with bonded. I don't bake anyway. But if I were to do that, and people like me, they like Katherine, they think that she's really cool. But I'm baking cakes, and you get it home, and it's got mold in it. Well, if I'm not careful, one person who's disgruntled over that cake can send that to social media. And the next thing I know, I have a crisis on my hands. Because why? That wasn't just any cake. It was the baby's first birthday cake. It was a christening cake. It was a wedding cake. It was something that was major. And I can really mess up my brand. So at that point, I have to know how to navigate that crisis, or I need someone else who can. And that's on a small scale. Take a look at any of our large organizations out here, restaurants, whatever, who have had really bad branding situations come up. You've got the recent fellow that was removed from his barrel, and that was a bad moment. They needed crisis communication, and that branding, that was super important, and it was messed with, it was tampered with. So the role of PR is to make sure that when those changes come, that we implement a strategy, a strategic plan to help mitigate the damages. We try to help stop the damages before they get too bad. But if you don't have someone that is a strategic communicator, such as myself and other individuals in the PR industry, you can really, really pay big dollars for it. It can wreck your bank account. There's a lot of misnomers that people don't understand about it. Public perception is huge. Right now, we have a whole ordeal where we have the government shutdown, and then we have, it's all over the news. The government is shut down, and then you've got, rebuilding of the White House in certain areas on one of the wings. And I'm one of the ones that's not happy about it. I'm going to just put that out there. Now, that said, there are other people that are okay with it. That's fine. Everybody has the right to make their own decisions. How it's pitched matters. When COVID came out, we had a whole big mess within the world of communications because of the way it was pitched. You had one side that was scared out of their minds, the other side that was like, we don't care, and if you have a middle person that is actually helping to clarify that message and they're strategic about it, they're educating the public, and they're saying these are the things that can help prevent XYZ. This name brand medication for a headache. If this name brand medication causes a bunch of people to get sick and get brain tumors, that name brand is going to need some help, and they're going to need to be real about it. They're going to have to be like, we messed up. Brands have to be willing to say, we messed up. We made a mistake. And PRs are the ones that will come in and help clarify that message. We're not here just to make sure that things stay fluffy, if you will, but to actually make sure that we respect the individuals affected by that situation in a crisis. It's huge what we do. It's hard to put it in one little sentence, but crisis communications is extremely important. It's a major part of what we do at KD Public Relations, because I like to catch things on the front end instead of the back end. I like prevention instead of reaction.
Oh, well said, Katherine. Wow, what a lot of great stuff. Hey, John.
Mhm.
As I'm sitting here
Powerful.
listening to you, Katherine, I'm like, you know what? It's by no surprise that John brings on Katherine, and Catherine's all about public relations and for what we try to guide people to do, with our podcast. John is just so laid back. He'll take it any way it comes. But
Yeah.
but wow, when you have a public relations expert, on a podcast, it's like, wow, this is a powerful podcast episode, right, John? And John, I know you learned
Yeah.
a lot from Katherine, you brought her here, but I know you just learned stuff, and you're a marketing guy. Because I know I was learning. Katherine speaking, I'm like, wow, I love public relations, and I just, had a little lesson learned here right in the show. You too, John, right?
Yeah. You always learn.
Yeah. So,
It's
so I know I said last comment by Katherine, but John, you're the boss. You have anything else you want to get from Katherine before we wrap on out of here?
Yeah. Catherine, if people are interested in getting hold of you to learn more, how can they do that?
Ooh, this is the fun part. Are y'all ready? This is going to be fun. Now, just before I tell this information, I just got a little peek in from the people at the coffee shop. They're closing up, so you're going to see me moving. Okay, I apologize in advance. But they're like, "Hey, we're ready to go home." I'm like, "Yes, I'm sorry." If people want to contact me, they can reach me at kattheprprac.com. KATTHEPRPRAC. KATTHEPRPRAC.com. Kattheprprac.com. It's totally intentional.
That's a catchy little tune.
That's how, right, that part. So when I named the company, I was trying to figure out how in the world I was going to get people to go to the website, because KD Public Relations is something that's kind of hard to remember. It just can be, we get a lot stored in our brains over here. And so I was thinking about it, and through the rebrand, because it's expensive, I don't advise it. 10 out of 10, do not recommend, unless you have to. But through the rebrand, this is what we ended up doing, coming up with a way that was catchier for people to remember, kattheprprac.com. And so I'm trying to come up with a jingle to go with it. I hadn't quite mapped it out, but working on it, because that's part of the strategy. And so when you're purchasing advertising and radio stuff and you hear kattheprprac.com, and there'll be some kind of scat or something with it, I promise you. It's going to be fun.
All right. Well, I see you all ready to head out. So we'll let you go. Thank you for coming on, Catherine. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I apologize to the audience. I have a respect for this coffee shop, and I think I've overextended my stay for the day. So we do shoot professional photography,
There you go.
and we do a lot. We build websites and everything. But when it comes to marketing, I'd prefer to leave that to you, or someone that does the marketing. We can do it, but when we're about building the brand, getting it started, and then sending it over to somebody else. We can do your graphics, all your stuff. Sorry, y'all. I will come back tomorrow and leave you a bigger tip. So we will, we can do all the things, but when it comes to, I'd rather write a press release. Thanks, y'all. I just would. I'd rather write a press release and talk to media and, shoot a few pigs.
All right. So,
Sorry,
folks,
this is
if you,
anxious.
all right. And folks, if you want to get a hold of me, I can be reached at millcitymarketingma@gmail.com. That's my email. My website is millcitybusinesshelp.com, and business is spelled with one S at the end. Don't ask.
I know that's
If you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me, or if you want to spot on this great podcast of mine, go to my calendar link, Calendly, that's CAN.
we can put it in the
It's a
comments.
Friday, folks. Don't mind me.
Just put it in the comments.
Here we
It's
go.
something-
CALENDLY.com/.
Mill City Marketing MA. And there'll be two spots on there. One's to have a one-on-one conversation with me on a Zoom call, and the other one's to reserve a spot on my calendar for the podcast. That's the best way to get a hold of me, folks. Kurt, take it away.
All right, you just watched this great episode of Revolutionize Your Marketing, again, every Friday, live at 5 Eastern. So tune in next Friday. We'll see you next time. Again, I'm Kurt Roska for the World of Ability podcast.